Welcome back to the American Girl Talk podcast, the podcast where we follow Kirsten Larson, who loves to hyperfixate on things, often to the danger of herself and others. I'm Caroline.
And I'm Celia.
And we're back again for the 5th book in the Kirsten series. 5th, right? Yeah, it was the 5th one.
You're right.
Damn, we've spent a lot of time with Kirsten.
We've learned a lot about her.
It's almost been a year on the prairie.
That's right.
A year in Minnesota.
She can't believe it.
A year without Marta.
Damn.
I wonder what happened to Marta's family. Because they were going to Minnesota too, and then we never hear from them again.
Probably too sad.
And they had no other kids, I don't think.
Not that we know about, yeah.
No. Anyway.
Kind of a bummer. Maybe they had another one.
They had
Marta too.
Maybe we could give them baby Britta.
That's right. Give them just swap in a different blonde baby. How will you know the difference?
Blondes. Well, except for Lisbeth, who has brown hair. Where'd that come from?
Kind
of sus.
of embarrassing.
But yeah, so we're on Kirsten Save the Day, which my main note was, or does she? Because I would argue that Kirsten saved the day more in Kirsten's Surprise.
Yes.
Like, she really doesn't save the day in this
something.
book.
No. Because there's not really... honestly, you could even argue that the next book has more of a save the day element.
Oh, I would argue.
Yeah. So I'm saying the title feels like they knew that they wanted to have this type of book for the other girls, but did not know what she should be saving.
But I feel like an easy rewrite, and we'll get to it, could have made Kirsten save the day. But Kirsten actively causes danger in this book.
Yeah, as you said, at every turn.
Yes.
And I understand she's now 10.
Yeah, she's 10 now.
But she actually has several moments where she has an internal thought that acknowledges she knows the danger. She's putting herself,
because she's self-aware now,
and the dog.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, famously, you turn 10
and you become
self-aware, girl, and you get girl brain,
mm-hmm.
and then you become all-knowing. A woman, absolutely.
You're supposed to know things.
You're supposed to know things.
You're supposed to be in charge
and be responsible.
Yeah, and do all your mama's chores.
That's right.
And Kirsten is just kind of living her life, trying to help out.
Still doing chores.
Kirsten always has very good intentions, but like I said at the top, she fixates. Like, she has a very, obsessive personality almost. And this book, she becomes obsessed with honey. And, she's like, gotta get that honey.
She's like, I have to provide for my family.
And it's the only way I can do it is with honey. And this is the theme of the next 2 books is, Kirsten and her brothers trying to find ways to make money to sell things so that their family is not without. And it is just, I do think it is kind of funny, and I'm sure it's pretty accurate, that it was just kind of, you needed something, you had to find a way to either make it, buy it, or you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I understand that they are not a well-off family. I understand that they need to have cash coming in, but at least in this novel, it makes a little bit more sense in the next book. In this book, there's not a pressing need to have money other than to have a product to sell.
Yeah, that's kind of for fun stuff that they want.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong other than that they have a new baby in the family.
Yeah.
So her urgency...
One more mouth to feed.
But her urgency about the bees does feel, again, dramatic in a way only a series of children's novels could dramatize such a minute issue.
Well, and neither of us are parents, famously. And neither of us are 10 years old.
Well, but we were once.
And I do think it is funny reading these as an adult and wondering why Kirsten kind of does certain things. But then remembering being a child and being like, oh yeah, I totally thought I could do that myself. And then getting yourself into deeper trouble by not telling your parents your kind of thought plan.
I understand the books are meant to teach kids a lesson in some way.
Yeah.
Right? In a historical context so that they're learning. But Kirsten does not receive, in my opinion, the true lessons that she should from any of her mistakes.
You think someone should have gotten killed in this book?
Not like that. But it does feel like she doesn't carry any of the lessons she learns in this book into the next one. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the books are very
They feel like
almost
very singular.
well, they're very sitcom-esque in the sense that
Yes.
much of what
It's a
happens in one book
serialized series.
Mhm. Much of what happens in one book does not carry over to the next book.
Absolutely.
Because Kirsten has learned the lesson of not hyperfixating on things from Trunk.
Yeah.
But yet again, we find ourselves with Kirsten being locked in on one singular item, one singular plan, and not being able to see beyond that. So should we get into it?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
The bee tree
Yeah, chapter 1. So Kirsten, it's actually this is a fun book because we get to spend time with Peter, who is a pussy.
and annoying. Oh my god,
It's having a
annoying.
little brother I can relate to.
That's true. I'm famously an only child.
Well, I have a little brother who is not so little anymore. He's an adult man. But when he was little, he was so annoying and he whined and he complained. And so I felt Kirsten very viscerally in this with Peter kind of whining about everything they were doing and being kind of a scaredy cat and just being kind of a drag, if you will, on events. But Kirsten
But
hangs out with
there.
yeah, Kirsten hangs out with Peter the entire time in this book. He's her best friend. And so they're fishing because they have to go fishing to make products for their family. And Peter brings his dog, Caro. Me.
I know, I did think that was funny.
Yeah, so Caro brings, and Kirsten is more of a cat person, so originally she's kind of annoyed, but then Caro is a very cute puppy, and she says,
She's
fine.
won over.
Yeah, she's like, fine, you can come with us. Mama warns them of about 95 different things that could kill them, and then just sends her kids off.
Also, here's the thing. Peter really wants to bring the dog, and Peter's like, "No, I'm gonna watch the dog." But I do feel like Peter has not learned a sense of responsibility because he's not been given chore in the same way that Kirsten has.
No,
So
Peter has no
Kirsten
chore.
Peter has no chore. Peter just has be boy
As most
and
boys do,
be
honestly.
that's true. And be annoying.
As I can attest as an older sister.
Yeah.
I had so many chore. And my mom will listen to this and be like, "You didn't have any chores?" Oh, sorry, his name. It's okay. My brother's but it is kind of Peter's probably grappling a little bit right now, though, with not being the youngest anymore.
Oh, for sure
We
losing
kinda learn that
a
in the next
status
book.
symbol.
He kind of resents baby Britta. Um, but he and Kirsten are out. Peter says he's gonna watch the dog. He doesn't really. We do get a fun word, pantalettes, in this
I did
book.
like that.
Kirsten is hiking up her skirt because they're wading in the water, and it says something about her pantalettes, which is obviously the feminine version of pantaloons. But I'd never heard the word before, and I
I
thought it
know.
was fun.
I liked it.
And we should start calling our pants pantalettes,
Well, we're both wearing, well,
jeanlettes.
jeanlettes.
Yeah, we can wear
Jeanlettes.
pantalettes next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Just, I think it's underwear, but it'd be funny.
Could be cool.
Yeah, we can dress like
You could say
pioneers.
it's fashion. And you can get away with anything these days by calling it fashion.
Just some water high pantalettes.
I thought you were going to say waterlogged because in this book and the next, she's sweating a lot.
Yeah, she's really
That
hot.
girl is always sweating.
Yeah, she's sweating through her bonnet. She's got that little red bonnet, but apparently it's not season appropriate. And she's jealous that Lisbeth and Anna have straw hats because they're much more cooling and nicer to wear in the summertime.
Also, to be honest, cuter.
Yeah, a little cuter look.
Cuter.
Yeah, you don't need a bonnet.
Why do her cousins get everything?
And you know when you were little and all your friends had something and you had the worst thing and it just felt even uglier and stupider when you were the one who was out of fashion, kind of?
Yes.
Like, I remember one time in 6th grade, my friend had a 6th grade girls' pool party, so we could all meet, like, the new girls, and I wore a one-piece bathing suit, and everyone else was wearing 2 pieces, and they were, like, cute little limited to, like, Hawaiian pattern ones, and I was wearing, like, my swim team
Yep.
one piece, and I've never
Understand.
been more, like, physically uncomfortable in my entire life. I've never felt more shame in my entire life than being the loser in the one piece at that party, and I still remember that.
Oh, yeah. Because you think everybody's at the same life stage as you, in quotes. And then there are these really harrowing moments as an adult where you have to look around, or as an adult, a young adult,
Yeah.
a teenager, or a preteen, and you have to face the music that you fell behind at some point and you don't know when and you don't know how far behind you are. I felt that way even with like Abercrombie or like Hollister things. I didn't get those types of like status items of clothing until later. And then I ended up going to a performing arts high school, and all of those people dressed in like American Apparel and other edgy like thrift shop outfits and stuff. And I had, like, whiplash because I was getting ready to go to a normal public high school, and then I went to a public high school, but for theater nerds,
Yeah.
and they were all dressed fashionably, and I never caught up.
One of the most devastating things that ever happened to me was I was probably Kirsten's age. I was probably 9 or something. She's 10 now, but I was probably 8 or 9, and I was waiting at carpool for my mom to pick me up, and it had been raining, and I had this kind of Paddington Bear style raincoat, so, like, the very traditional raincoat,
Sure.
but mine was lime green with, like, blue buckles, and I really, really liked it. And then this girl who used to be my friend came up to me with this other girl, and she started, like, playing with the buckle and was like, "Hey, Caroline." And I was like, "Hey." And she said, "Do you wear this raincoat because you think it makes you look cool?" And I said, "Oh, I like this
Ugh.
is my favorite raincoat." And then she and the other girl laughed and walked away. And
Kids are mean.
and I remember
Should Kirsten get bullied?
and I didn't wear a raincoat again. I still haven't worn a raincoat again.
Damn, I own one really boring raincoat.
Well, raincoats are kind of inefficient and incredibly sweaty, much like a
Oh,
bonnet.
I have one I got from my rowing program, and it is the only raincoat I wanna wear for the rest of my life. It's, like, not cute, but it's, like, sporty cute, and it is, like, light, and it's in, like, a sweat-wicking material on the inside.
That's the thing with raincoats, they're so sweaty.
It's so nice. It's
Ugh.
so nice.
I'll have to
Anyway.
I'll have to check it out. But Kirsten's head is sweaty because she's wearing a bonnet. And so they're fishing, and then all of a sudden, Caro, the dog, gets stung by a bee. And I also do like this little bit of child behavior because Kirsten and Peter both act like Caro is about to die. When
Yes, it's
I
good
do think
dramatics.
I do think dogs getting stung by a bee would be sad because you don't want to see a little puppy yelping.
Yeah.
But they both like lose their mind.
Oh, yeah, she's, like, stroking the dog's
Peter's sobbing.
ear.
He's like, "I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
and
I'm
she's
so
like, "You'll
sorry."
be okay. It'll be
And the
fine."
puppy's like, "Fine," 5
The
minutes
dog is
later.
okay.
But Kirsten's like, "Hey, if there's a bee here, there's many more bees somewhere
And there
else."
must be a bee tree.
So she uses the skills that Singing Bird taught her to suss out, like, the sounds of she literally, like, follows the sounds and hums of bees.
Yeah, I didn't bother to look it up because I just wanted to wildly extrapolate about it,
Mhm.
but I know you can hear bees and stuff, and I like to watch TikToks of the people who go, like, relocate bees that are in places they shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Bee? But I did kind of wonder where she was like, "They're just trees where there's one hole, and then there's bees inside." And I was like, "I don't totally think that's accurate,
She's a little beekeeper, though.
but that's true."
So she does find the bees, and then she kinda starts Kirsten starts plotting. She starts being like, I think I could make some money off this honey," you know?
She's a businesswoman.
Yeah, she is. She is first and foremost a businesswoman, and she decides, "You know what? Papa used to catch bees, or Papa used to work with bees in Sweden. I watched him do it before when I was 7. I can figure this out now." So Kirsten, like, marks the tree and decides, I'm gonna do this by myself. I'm gonna just enlist Peter, my 6-year-old brother, and he and I are going to catch these bees. We're gonna steal Papa's bee equipment, and we're just gonna have a great time."
Also, I did like because we famously fixated so big time on trunk last time.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that she mentions this time that in that trunk was so much shit.
Yeah, their entire
Include
lives are in the trunk. We're in
Yeah,
trunk.
yeah, but I was like but there was so much importance placed on, like, that only the necessary items, like, were also, like, in this trunk, right? Like and then, like, a few cherished belongings. So I did enjoy the fact that Papa's bee hat was in there. Bee net or whatever.
Papa's beekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
When he left Sweden, he said, "You know what
He
I
was
need
like,
to bring?
"We're gonna be beekeeping
We're
in
gonna
America.
we're gonna bead these."
I'm gonna" Mm. Yeah, I like that.
So then we move on to chapter 2. Everyone's making jam.
Mama makes the best jam.
So Peter and Anna are like sneaking little raspberries while they're making jam. Kirsten thinks they're eating just as many as they're preserving, which I think is some slight shade on them. And Kirsten is making the jam, but her heart's not really in it because again, she is locked in on honey.
She can't stop thinking about those bees.
She can't.
She needs to get
She may
back
be
to them.
jamming, but she's buzzing inside.
That's good. That's good.
And then I think Elizabeth tells them about the 4th of July and says, Elizabeth says we're making the preserves so we can sell them at the 4th of July party. And Kirsten asks, what the hell is the 4th of July? And then Elizabeth is like, oh my God, don't you remember we talked about it in school? It's like America's Independence Day. Like, I just got here like a year ago.
And yeah, Kirsten should have been like, yeah, remember when I couldn't speak English?
I didn't speak English for that list.
I still maybe don't even speak. I'm speaking it better.
Yeah,
But
we're actually not confident. I was wondering actually in this book, do you think they're speaking Swedish to each other or do you think they're speaking English?
I think they are still speaking Swedish to each other
And we're
because I feel like it is repeatedly implied that they still speak Swedish at home.
Yeah. Because they have to, because Mama and Papa don't know
That's what I'm saying,
English.
right?
Yeah.
So she must only be speaking, and I can't imagine her English has gotten any better because she's been doing so many
And she
chores
can't go to school.
and she's not going to school. And I doubt her cousins are actually helping her.
No, Elizabeth is absolutely not helping her. Elizabeth likes to
Elizabeth-
feel more
Elizabeth wants that
mature.
superiority complex.
Yeah, and she can't have that if Kirsten, who's already a little bit dumb, is smart.
Absolutely.
So they're talking about this party. They're talking about the 4th of July and how there's games and there's races and they're going to go into that Maryville town and celebrate and they can go and buy things. So basically, 4th of July is like a trade show.
Yeah, I didn't think it was cool.
Which
That
is
it feels
kinda
like
cool.
a big market.
Yeah.
I was like, it would be cool if that was more. I know there are like Independence Day markets and stuff, but now it's more about like beer and fireworks and
Well,
stuff like that.
It's interesting, like, kind of that we read this right now because the podcast that I work on for my job, we did an episode about kind of going back to constitutional times. We had a speaker come on who talked about that, and he talked about how there used to be election days used to be big celebrations too,
Sure.
and people would go to the local election hall and you would bring an election cake. And you would go and you would celebrate the fact that as an American you can like vote and you can do these things if you were a white man. And
Yes.
but it kind of was an interesting way to think about the fact that I guess nowadays we have so many it's not as much of a community thing, you know? And, like, you might have a 4th of July party with your friends and stuff, but when you lived on a farm, it was kind of more, "Oh, we'll all go into town, and it's a perfect time
There's
because
an
everyone's in
excursion.
town to start doing some local trade-in,
I was
seeing
gonna
what
say,
we
and
fixed."
everybody has different skills, right? Because they
Mhm.
talk about how like they make the jam and then they traded it for fabric and other goods to bring home,
It's kinda
and then
fun.
also had money that because they sold the jam as well.
I feel like I'd be really energized by, like, gamifying, trade.
Okay, right? But I also feel, did you have home ec?
No, I did not.
See, this is interesting. I had home ec in middle school. I didn't have home ec in high school. But even that feels like something that is missing that we even used to have in the last 20 years that I feel like is being phased out of schools for the most part. I mean, I understand there's like a level of money that comes or is needed for home ec programs to happen. But I learned like sewing and we had a cooking unit. So I feel like it's even interesting on that level of kids used to be taught trades to go then. Obviously, this is much further in the past, but even up until a couple decades ago, home ec was like such a part of even teaching kids trade skills to have at home. So I agree. I mean, there's a joke now that people used to have hobbies and now they're side hustles. How can you make like money out of every single thing that you're good at? But it kind of goes back to these times where you had to turn everything you did for fun
Well, that begs the
into like
question,
money.
if I was at this 4th of July party, would I trade my podcast services?
See, but is it
Who would buy that?
it's probably a lot of people now. Caroline, everybody wants to have a podcast.
And you could do social media for people?
No, I don't want to do that anymore.
What would you trade a social media, like 3 weeks of social media work for?
Okay, here's the thing. I've been trying to do this with my hairstylist because I know that she does this. Because my hairstylist,
I should do that with my hairstylist too.
interesting. But yeah, no, right. Because I was like, well, I could help you with your things. And then she, I know, does it with like she exchanges haircuts for like a brow girl that she knows. And then
Yeah.
like she's like a tattoo artist that like they do like
Yeah,
discounted
the beauty industry
services.
is all about kind of the
I
trading.
know, I'm jealous. Because yeah, it does feel a little bit like I know you and I, when we talked about like the podcast, we both have skills that are complementary to doing a podcast and then promoting a podcast. So like that's like a level of fun that we're exchanging with like each other. But I don't know. I feel like I would give 3 weeks of free social media to somebody for maybe, like, meal prepped meals, because I don't like cooking.
Yeah.
Or I like cooking, but I hate cleaning up, and I hate the process of, like, everything after it, after enjoying the meal. I'm like, "Ugh, I don't wanna do that. I don't wanna shop for groceries again. I don't wanna package it up. I don't wanna clean it up." So I would do, like, social media in exchange for being provided food.
I would create a podcast episode for someone who would clean my couch.
Oh, see, that's good.
And you can take that to the bank, guys. So
Yeah,
any couch cleaners in
just
Austin
write that down
who want to record a podcast on anything, I'll do 2 episodes for you.
in exchange for
In exchange
couch
for a nice little
couch
cleaning
clean well,
couch.
you know what? My car being cleaned. Somebody to detail my car.
You know,
I would do that for their business for a month just
yeah.
to get my car
Oh, I would
first of
love
all,
to have my car detailed.
car detailing is expensive, but it's so luxurious. Anyway.
I know, I'd like to do it. And I guess just on that, like, little note a little bit because I have more notes on Kirsten having hive mind about honey. I had hive mind about couch, and so I can't really fault her. I really love my couch.
No, I get it.
So I understand her.
Well, I think as, like, girls, we can perhaps all relate to sometimes lingering a little too long on something we shouldn't.
On a couch, on a
On
boy,
a
on
boy. Yeah,
honey.
exactly. On honey. And so, yeah, I mean, we rag on her because it's our job
Because we
here
understand.
now to do
We're
such
hardest on the
things.
things that we see in ourselves. A mirror. She's a
Absolutely.
mirror to
She is a
ourselves.
mirror to ourselves. It's tough to be two blonde women
Exactly.
looking at another blonde woman
Who's crawling into a bush and finding a baby bear.
and really not doing anything she should do about it.
And then she goes out, she sees this baby bear, she goes, "Oh," and she crawls
She
out and
goes,
she goes,
"Oop."
"Guys, baby bear over there." Elizabeth freaks out.
Yeah,
And the
she told
photo
the exact wrong person.
the photo of Elizabeth, this child looks 70 years old. This child looks tired in this photo. And
It's
Kirsten is like, "No."
it's the same energy as the original Miss Wilson art, where it makes her look like a Miss Winston, LOL. Uh, where it looks like she's 45 years old and a spinster, but she's 19.
Well, I think just the issue with Elizabeth is I do feel like sometime in the last book she decided that she's a woman now and doesn't have time for these girlish pursuits. And I'm like, you were sitting in a tree with Kirsten giggling, book one, and now you're kind of this crotchety, do gooder, Miss Perfect. And I feel like we all had a friend when we were growing up. And I do think it is like, it happens, but you had a friend who was a year or two older than you who all of a sudden decided that she was so much more mature than you and could not play Barbies with you anymore, could not do these little girl things anymore. And it was like 1 week to another, you know?
Well, I was gonna say, it does feel like I wonder if you feel similarly. We have a small age difference, and then some of our friends are even older than us by like a larger amount. I do feel as though this experience reoccurs at multiple junctures in your life
Yeah, because all
where
friends are all married and we're not.
okay, well, that wasn't what I was gonna say. But well, yes, that's suppose the finer point on it.
Life
Um
milestones.
Well, but not even that, where it sometimes feels like you I feel like it happened for me with I was in college, and at the end of college, I felt like me and all my friends were equal. We were on, like, the same page socially, status-wise, whatever. Then I graduated, and I felt like when I met new friends outside of school again, it was like, "Oh, I'm a baby, and you guys are all adults, and you don't see me as an adult in the same way," even though I also have a job that we work
Yeah.
tangentially to each other, and we go out together, and I also have money and a car and, like, a life. So I do think it's funny because I do feel like it's where these books kind of hit home a little harder as an adult because you are like, "Oh, she's like an adult now, but she's 16, right?"
No, she's 12.
Oh, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry.
But
But she's behaving like she's older. It's like you said last episode.
yeah.
She's one of those girls who seems like she starts to act older because she probably likes
Well, and
feeling that superiority, feeling like,
it
I'm
does
in with the
happen.
women.
Yeah, it does happen around that age too, because I famously have an older sister as well as a younger brother. And I remember when I was probably around 10 and my sister was turning 12, it did feel like all of a sudden I would ask her if she wanted to play Barbies and she would like scoff at me.
Yeah.
Or she and her friends would come over and they would act like it was so funny that I wanted to play Barbies. And I kind of thought, oh, I'm 10. Of course I want to play Barbies. When I'm 12, I won't. But it did feel as if there was And we had a neighbor who is 11. I remember I was like, not it was like her she had a sister who was 9, I was 10, and then our neighbor was 11. And the 11-year-old at one point did the same thing where she was all of a sudden too old to play Oregon Trail with me and the younger girl. And it felt like it was one play date to the next that it happened. And and I'm sure I did it too,
Sure.
but it is just kind of funny to see.
When it changes.
And I wish they acknowledged it a little bit. Like, I wish there was a throwaway line in this that Kirsten's like, Elizabeth kind of sucks now.
I'm kind of curious if we'll see it with any of the girls in the future books. This is just sort of a forethinking thought. I do wonder if they'll address a little bit more of the interpersonal dynamics because I do feel like right now the books are a lot about a story that's really just trying to tell you something about the historical context in which these girls grew up.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious to see if, as we go on, any of the girls will talk a little bit more about, like, even her losing friends, right? Or her friends not staying around, or her friend dying. We don't really get to linger in any of it. And I get it, they're short, sweet books. But yeah, I mean, Elizabeth has changed. Even her brothers, like, are getting older and a little bit more mature and a little bit more involved in
Yeah,
things.
we talk to Lars in the next book, but in this one, he's not
He's like
around.
off being a boy,
Well,
being
he
a
does something
man.
later when Kirsten finds chapter 3, bears.
Bears.
So Kirsten plans a heist mission to get the bee stuff, and she enlists Peter to help her, and he's being a little bitch about it until Kirsten reminds him that he wants this like hunting knife that he saw at Mr. Burkhoff's store, and that if they get enough honey, they'll have extra money, and he can get the knife honey. And then Peter says, "Can I bring Caro again, this dog?" And Kirsten again is, I suppose, because it's cute. I'm like, this dog is very
The
cute,
dog's
but
not
it is
gonna
a
help
little
you.
puppy.
Yeah, it's not like a hunting dog.
No, it's not a trained, fully
Not a
grown dog. It
trained
is
animal.
a puppy just running around.
Yeah.
And so they bring it, and their plan is very bad.
Yeah.
They're like gonna like they clearly it's one of those things where Kirsten has watched her dad,
Do this, like, a couple times.
but she doesn't understand the mechanics and the art
No.
behind it. And as we know, beekeeping is an art.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's just planning on bringing a torch and
Bees are
smoking the
mean.
bees out of the tree and hacking at the honey.
She's to get a clip to put the queen in
Yeah.
and then move them.
And she doesn't know how to do that.
She doesn't.
So they're kind of running into it, and luckily before they can do any like true damage, Caro runs into a bear and starts fighting a bear cub.
Yeah.
And then Peter tries to defend Caro and throws a stone, but then Mama Bear comes and is angry that Peter and Caro are attacking Baby Bear, and she absolutely clobbers Caro, smacks that little dog across the ground, and then chases Peter and Kirsten up a tree. And Kirsten makes sure that Peter gets up the tree first, and then somehow Peter pulls Kirsten up.
I was a little confused on the logistics here.
And so the bear is kind of batting at the tree. Peter's sobbing. Kirsten's thinking, "Oh, how did I do this? What sort of mess did I get us into?" And the bear kind of loses interest, basically.
I will say, though, to be clear, climbing a tree, I think Papa says it later that, like, the best way to stay safe from bears,
Just make noise.
is to not, find a bear at all.
Yes.
It's the most useless dad advice ever. But you're not supposed to climb a tree.
Well, they can famously climb trees
Yes,
very
very
well.
well. That is the, I think, objectively a funny part of this.
Well, I think Kirsten does say if the bear decides to climb the tree, we're done for.
Yeah, which, like, she's smart.
Only to a certain degree.
Well, she does say this, yes. Everyone knew black bears climb trees easily. The bears could come right up this tree after them. But yeah, I guess the bear by an active American girl god.
Isn't interested.
Bored.
But you know who does hear their screams? Papa.
That's right.
And Papa comes, and the photo of Papa looking angrily at Kirsten is so good. He is like squinty, bulging-eyed angry, and Kirsten is knowing that she really effed up.
Yeah, well, once he sees that she's, like, upset about it, he backs off, but he does be like, "I guess I don't have to paddle you," which I thought was really a throwaway line about corporal punishment in the home.
Well, and then he also tells her, like, what is it? He's also like, not only were you dumb enough to find a bear and put yourself in danger, but the way you were trying to get the honey would have absolutely ruined all the honey, so this would have been for nothing. And then, yeah, Papa is just angry, basically. And Papa seems like not the dad to get angry, as we've only seen one nice moment of Papa this entire book series so far. So that's tough. And Kirsten feels shame. But we move on to chapter 4, bringing back the bees. And Papa and Lars Larson go to find the bees. And Kirsten decides in kind of a very mature, face your fears type of way that she should go back because she's a little scared.
I did like that. I
And
thought that was a good lesson for a young
yeah, it
woman
is.
to
Because they're
learn.
basically saying if I go back, I won't be as scared because I won't like because I'll face my fear. And if I stay away, then I'll still be afraid of it. And then she says, Peter, would you like to come? And Peter decides to stay afraid and stay at home.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta take care of this puppy.
Fair enough.
I'm like, that's fair. So Kirsten, Lars, and Papa go into the woods. Papa's a little mean to Kirsten, which I guess is fair if your daughter almost got her and your younger son killed by a bear. But Kirsten watches the boys and the men get the bees.
And she's excited.
And she's excited, but she also is sad because she kind of thinks, ugh, I could have done this, but I also ruined everything. And Mama is nice, and Mama says, no, we wouldn't have found the bees if it wasn't for you. But Kirsten still feels kind of bad about it. Which she
Again,
should. She
also-
kind of should.
Kind of back to the title, though. Did she save the day?
No, she didn't save the day. She earned the money. She didn't save the day.
I guess we're skipping ahead a little there. But yes. Yeah.
But she found them the honey that earns them the money.
Earns and the money.
But she saves the day more in Kirsten's surprise.
Yeah.
Because
there's like
she
a
saves her and Papa
motivated
from
effort.
hypothermia.
Yes.
Yeah. And
she saves Christmas.
Yeah. So this is more like Kirsten's surprise because the bear is a surprise.
And the bees.
And the bees
are a surprise that nobody could have known was coming.
I would rename this. But that was chapter 4 was quick and easy. Chapter 5 is the best Beswood honey. Yeehaw! It is 4th of July and everyone is shooting guns, celebrating, hooting and hollering down in Maryville.
I did think it was cute. I
Yeah.
thought it was fun. And I like that we got another holiday.
Mm-hmm. And we realized that Aunt Inga is a hustler.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I have the plumpest chickens. And Mr. Burkhoff
She's out there on
says,
the streets.
yeah, he says, everyone has chicken. She goes, not like this. Check out these breasts. Yeah. And so she's doing all this like trades and stuff. And then Aunt Inga says, oh, but we have the pièce de résistance, honey. I'm like, well, let's let Kirsten's family say the honey.
I know. I was like, well, it's
you
like
didn't
not
do
really like
anything to
you
get it.
guys. Yeah.
And then Mr. Burkhoff is like, oh, we could use some beeswax. We've got fancy women moving into town who need to polish their furniture. And I'm like, huh, beeswax.
I like the art of him, too, where he's like, he's like scratching his chin. He's like, ladies, I think we're in business.
I think we're going.
I think we're going to have a pretty good summer with the beeswax.
And then I think Papa does give Kirsten credit for finding the bee,
Which is nice.
The honey.
But this seems to be the trend with her. She hyperfixates. She makes a mistake of increasingly egregious natures. She gets kind of yelled at and then kind of rewarded
Yeah.
for fucking up.
Yeah.
Which I guess I respect.
Yeah, because she wanders off into Mr. Buckcroft's store and tries on a little hat, and Papa kind of makes fun of her, and because Papa's
once
cruel,
again, being the fucking worst.
yeah, because Papa's cruel, she doesn't realize whether he's kidding or not.
Yeah, she can't. How could she know?
He's
He
like,
doesn't
you-
show her love.
He's like, you think you deserve a fancy hat? And she's like, no, Papa, I was just trying it on.
She's like, no, let me put my soggy rag back on my head.
And he's like, I'm just kidding, girl. Get a hat.
you need one. Go out there, girl. Tie it on your head and enjoy the festivities.
And then Mama's like, oh, and a ribbon too. Kirsten has so many ribbons.
I know.
And then Peter gets his knife,
Yeah.
and then the book simply ends.
Yeah, it is over.
This is the most abrupt ending of one of the books so far. They're like, look, the parade. Fade to black.
Yeah, this one, again, does feel like, I think out of all the books we've read so far, it had the least clear, like, clarity on the holistic story it wanted to tell. I feel like eventually I understood, okay, we're moving towards the market for Independence Day, but we took a long route to get there, and it wasn't that worth it in the end.
Yeah.
Sometimes the road less traveled is less traveled for a reason.
But Papa does have a bee colony now.
That's true, which doesn't get brought up again.
No, it doesn't.
So
Much like Miss Winston was not in this book at all. We haven't heard about Sorry again. We haven't heard about Girlford again.
and we don't really know where any of the indigenous people are either.
Well, they kicked him out.
Yeah, but I do feel like they were still around.
No, they're gone. No food.
They were for sure still around then.
Yeah, but I think
Not
they-
for
I
her.
think they're
Not for her, but it is interesting.
I think they're being moved. If you know what I mean.
I might know what you mean.
Yeeks. And a peek into the past, speaking of indigenous people being moved, we find out that pioneer life was not fun in any stretch of the imagination.
I do feel like as a kid growing up, hashtag in Minnesota, there was a scam of selling pioneer life to kids. I mean, I know you also grew up in a place with lots of rich history and historical like locations and stuff. We had like all of like the schoolhouses and things that like used to be, and then you would go do like a day as a pioneer kid. They sucked. They weren't fun. You were basically a kid doing like labor chores, and like the girls would go, you would like sit in the classroom and you'd take a little course, and then you would go do like activities that like involved like cleaning and laundry and like how would you clean things and how would you send like a telegram and how do you do these messages, and they'd be like, no, have fun like a kid, here's like a hoop and a stick to play a
The
game
hoop stick
with.
game is very hard. I
It
understand it.
is hard, so I get it, because you'd want to play it forever to get good at it and you never would because you'd be a child on the prairie. But yes, to your point,
This is fun.
it wasn't fun. That was the thing. I feel like you're supposed to gain an appreciation for that type of life, but all it made me do was appreciate that I wasn't alive then.
Now, and the whole peek into the past basically just goes into that there was no stores really. You
Yeah.
had to make everything yourself. You had to, if you couldn't make it, you had to trade it. And basically the elements were working against you constantly. There's dangers galore everywhere you went. It just basically emphasizes how hard life is.
Well, and I feel like my favorite part too was this part at the end. I was making sure it was in this one. Where it talks about how they couldn't afford to take like long, luxurious vacations like us. That literally a vacation for them would be going into town for a holiday for the day. And then they were still working.
Yeah.
They were still
They
hustling
were
and selling
hustling, yeah.
stuff to try to get any money or trade any goods that they
And they
could while they
probably
were
had to
in
work
town.
twice as hard the next day because they didn't do things the
Yeah,
first day.
they took it easy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, it's
So
pretty terrible.
so sign me not up for pioneer life.
Yeah, no, thank you.
But that is a wrap on Kirsten Saves the Day.
Did she?
She didn't, actually. Not even a
Not
little
really.
bit.
There wasn't a day that needed to be saved.
What would you have named this one?
Kirsten's forest adventure. Kirsten finds the bees.
Kirsten's buzzing.
Kirsten be better.
Kirsten Be Better is good.
Thank you.
So we're renaming it Kirsten Be Better. If you like this episode, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you would rename Kirsten Saves the Day. Or tell us if you think Kirsten really did save the day. I'm
And why?
curious.
Write us an essay.
Yeah, tell us.
We'll read it out loud.
Tell us if you think that the black bear would have climbed the tree.
Tell us if you think children should be more afraid to be in the woods alone.
Tell us if you think that Peter is a pussy.
But now he's got a knife, so be careful what you say.
He's not going to do anything with it.
Well,
He's going to whittle like Lars. Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that Lars is like a true artist with whittling. And the women in town love his whittles. And he gets embarrassed when people ask for his whittles.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty
I
cool.
love a man who gets embarrassed.
And guess what? We get to hang out with Lars more in the next book.
That's
so
right. Look forward to it.
We'll see you then. Until then, bye.
Bye.